I'm definitely gonna get roasted in the comment section for this one. Whew. Hello, bookaholics. This is Angela, your own bookaholic brown name. Welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, welcome. And let me tell you what we do here. We talk about books, and all things books. And if you're a bookaholic like me, please do not hesitate from subscribing to my channel, and also please like and share this video so that like-minded bookaholics like you and me can discover my content and engage with us. In today's video, I'm going to try and review the best-selling science fiction book of all time, which is Dune by Frank Herbert. I actually went ahead and spent a little bit more than I usually spend on a book and bought this wonderful, beautiful copy with the painted, stained edges and beautiful dust cover. I think a lot of us have this book anyways. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, before I start the review, I would like to let you know something up front, kind of a disclaimer, that this is the first time that I am reading this book, and I haven't read any other books in the canon. I haven't read any books that was written subsequently by Frank Herbert or his son. The knowledge that I have is what I got from this book. I haven't read any additional accompanying books as well, if there exist any. I haven't done any internet research. So what I'm putting out right now is my fresh thought right after reading the book, and I would like to do a very balanced review of the book, what I like, what I dislike, everything together into one video, and even the best books or my favorite books of all time, I always have something that I do not like in them. So having said that, I just want to reiterate that this is not any kind of professional critique. It is just a very immature book reader's viewpoint of the book. This review is going to be spoiler free, and I would like to start off by giving you a brief spoiler free summary of the book. Now, the story takes place in the distant future where humans have mastered interspace travel and also have colonized many planets, and one of these planets is the barren land called Arrakis. Now, the only thing of value as seen from the outsider in this planet is a substance which is called the spice. Now, the spice has the ability to extend human lifespan and enhance consciousness, and hence it is extremely valuable. One of the most precious substance in this entire future universe. And because of that, who rules the planet matters a lot. Now, due to some pre-existing, pre-agreed treaty or agreement, change of power happens, and that's when the story starts, and the responsibility of ruling this planet is handed over to our protagonist family, which is Atreides family. But because of a betrayal, now this betrayal is not a spoiler, this is something that you can find in any of the synopsis available of the book, and because of this betrayal, the members of the family are forced into exile into this hostile, unknown, strange and barren planet, and they are faced with unknown enemies and strange, dangerous creatures. And at this point, Paul Atreides, one of the member of the family, who is supposedly the chosen one, rises to the occasion. Whether he or how he circumvents the obstacles thrown at him by his morbidly obese arch nemesis is what the story is all about. Let's see what I liked about this book. Now, consider the time this was written in. It was written back in the 60s, and for those times, this was mind-blowingly imaginative, creative, and out of the box thinking, the concept itself. I could only imagine the feeling that surged through people back in the 60s who read this book and the feeling they had. I'm sure it was out of the world experience for them while reading this book. Now, Frank Herbert was pushing the envelope, which when it came to science fiction writing, it set a bar for the future science fiction writers to look up to and to push through. And I'm sure this book inspired a generation of science fiction writers. The idea of the book itself was so well conceived, it was developed and have aged well as well. And there is no denying that. World building, oh my god, so well done. The ecology of the planet is explained, especially in the appendix. If you're looking for it or more details, then you can get in the appendix and you can add up to what you have read already in the story, and then you get a fair picture of what the world of Arrakis looks like. Also the explanation behind how there are this bunch of people who have survived this hostile and dangerous planet by the use of advanced science that he tries to explain is also really good. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of unexplained phenomenon which will be explained in the future books, which might in turn will have an impact on the direction the story will take, I guess. Arrakis as such, the way it was built and the way it was also explained to the reader, so that the reader can totally understand the ecology of the ecology and environment and the setup of the world in itself, was well done. This book has some of the best lackeys that I have ever seen in fictional world. I loved Duncan Idaho. I loved Gurney Halleck. So all these people who are the side characters, I think they were some of the best and the strongest characters, because they are extremely loyal, they are superbly skilled, and they are well rounded. We know where their allegiances lie. We know that these are people whom we can rely upon and who understand their duty very well. So within the context of the story, that part, the last part, the understanding of one's duty is very important to the story. That's why I highlighted that quality here. So yeah, props to that. Well written lackeys. Another thing that I really, really loved in this book are the wonderfully written epigraphs. I would like to read out some of them to you because I loved it so much. And I think what I will take away from this book and which will stay with me for a long, long time are these beautifully written epigraphs. So one of them is, let me read out to you. This review will be absolutely wasteful if I don't. When law and duty are one, united by religion, you never become fully conscious, fully aware of yourself. You're always a little less than an individual. Another one is, you cannot avoid the interplay of politics within an orthodox religion. This power struggle permeates the training, educating, and disciplining of the orthodox community. Because of this pressure, the leaders of such a community inevitably must face that ultimate internal question: to succumb to complete opportunism as the price of maintaining their rule, or risk sacrificing themselves for the sake of orthodox ethic. And one more. Last one, I promise. Deep in the human unconscious is a pervasive need for a logical universe that makes sense. But the real universe is always one step beyond logic. I just love these epigraphs. Beautiful. They are profound and totally in line with the theme of the book. Coming to things that I didn't like. Okay. This is where I'm gonna get roasted, right? Anyways, I have to say what I have to say. When it comes to two of the main characters, that is Paul and Jessica, I was not attached to them at all. I mean, I was not emotionally connected to them because Paul is this chosen one and Jessica his mother. We are supposed to root for them, and we're supposed to feel sympathetic towards them. I am completely sympathetic to their cause. I understand their cause and I understand, why they're supposed to win. But I did not feel that, push in myself to root for these people, because the author did not take much time to actually build their characters, to develop their characters, so that the reader, at least me, can feel sympathetic towards them. I do not know if this was done intentionally because of something that might unfold in the future books, that we are not supposed to feel that connected to them. I don't know. But if I'm just reading this book, I felt that sometimes Paul comes across as very obnoxious and rude and so full of himself, because he thinks that he's a chosen one, so he is doing the right thing always. Even Jessica is sometimes rude, and I hated that scene where she slaps Idaho, and I lost it completely there. There are many scenes like that where I felt that instead of being connected to them, I felt disconnected, and I felt quite angry with these main characters, towards whom we are supposed to feel love and sympathy, and we are supposed to root for them. Now, Baron, he's very well written. He comes across as how he's supposed to be a formidable enemy. We are intimidated by him, both his stature and also his ruthlessness, which is conveyed in the story quite well. However, the other nemesis, which is Fade Rauta, who is the nephew of the Baron, with whom Paul will have his final encounter, I mean, his character was not at all developed. I do not feel the kind of frustration and enmity that I should feel towards him at all. I do not feel like, hey, he is somebody Paul needs to beat, because he is cruel and he is vile. I mean, we have one or two references from other people about how this guy Fayed Rauta is cruel and vile and villainy, but that via the story itself was not developed. So that was kind of a bummer for me, because I like well written, crazy, psychopathic, nemesis. Now, while I was reading, and even while I was approaching the last few pages, one question that haunted me was, this book is considered and hailed as the best science fiction book all time, but I somehow found that there were very clear elements of fantasy as well in this story, especially with the powers of Bene Gesserit and Quasit's Haderach. I felt those powers were not well enough explained with the help of science, but rather it came across as usage of some kind of advanced magic. Now, please don't quote Arthur C. Clarke and say that any sufficiently advanced technology might look like magic. I know that, but that's not what I'm talking about here. This is specifically in this context of the use of power. Now, I did go to Reddit, and actually this is the only thing that I researched before doing this video about this book, and that is whether this is purely a science fiction book or whether there are elements of fantasy as well. And there were these ardent fans who believed that this was purely science fiction, trying to argue, or not argue, actually trying to explain how this is purely science fiction, because this power is used by the human consciousness to somehow melt or go down into the subatomic level, and trying to manipulate the structure of the atoms itself. But it was not at all convincing for me, because I think that science fiction, even though it is fiction, at least at some level it should be somehow conceivable in human mind. Considering this was written in the 1960s, where telepathy and telekinesis were anyway categorized under the umbrella of the science fiction realm, and if that's what Herbert was aiming for, or something similar, then it's fine. I understand that. But for me, as it is, through my first read, how I felt was this was kind of a use of some kind of magical power, and the chosen one trope also is very not science fictiony, right? The chosen one doesn't exist in the scientific realm. It's something that happens in the fantastical realm. On the other hand, elements of space travel and still suit and the technologies used, those were clearly science fiction elements, and from that aspect, definitely this can be categorized as science fiction. And then something that really irked me is this, this book claims that it happens in a very futuristic past where there is interplanetary travel happening and humans have progressed, you can manipulate consciousness and all that thing. And then you have this element from the bygone era where male rulers are allowed to take concubines and wives, and that irked me. I don't know why that I just couldn't um, get past that. It annoyed me a lot. Even the love story between Paul and Jenny was not, well explored. It was not given even enough importance. I could definitely see Cheney loving him, but not the other way around. Like I said, Paul always came across as obnoxious to me. So to conclude, I would say that Dune very well transcends between science fiction and fantasy elements. If you have some counter arguments or explanations, I am open to those. The funny thing is that the conversation in Reddit reached such a slippery slope that people who were trying to establish um, Dune firmly as a science fiction saga, they were at the verge of, or they almost declared Harry Potter as science fiction if we go by that logic, and then I had to run away from there with my dear life. Another question that really bugged me while reading this book was, the role of spice in the actual world and not just in Arrakis. So wherever this is exported to, if this is supposed to extend human lifespan, how long do the humans live now? Can everybody access it? And it does it work on everybody? And if this is supposed to enhance consciousness, in that case, then shouldn't the powers of Benny Gesserit and Paul, or the chosen one, Muad'Dib, be quite generic? Because if everybody can manipulate and access human consciousness, by just consuming this drug, I mean, this is something that, whom are they exploring it for? Whom are they mining this spice for? Where is it going to? If it extends, lifespan for longer period of time, that in itself is a lot of power given to humans. So how is that affecting the demography? How is that affecting the politics of the world of um, Dune? That's not at all explored and explained, and that kind of bothered me a lot. I'm hoping the future books might explain this and explore this more. Two more things that bother me. One is that the ending was quite predictable. And there was nothing, there were no twists and turns or as I expected. It was quite a straightforward story and ending, very predictable. Second thing I want to mention now is the inner monologues that keep happening, from third person POV. And it didn't bother me much, but the only aspect of it that bothered me was the fact that some of these thoughts uh, were kind of spoon feeding concepts, and that kind of irked me because basically I think what Frank Herbert was aiming for was not just mere storytelling, but actually using the tool of storytelling, using futuristic setup to explore and meditate upon deep philosophical questions like human consciousness, human nature, greed, power, and the kind of destruction this power and greed can bring upon us and civilization as such. And also exploring topics like religious fanaticism and mysticism and dogmatism. So those, I think that was the main core theme of this book, and I did get that message, but I would have loved it explored more, and also sometimes not in such a direct way, as third person POV inner monologues, but more uh, through the storytelling itself, more indirectly and more subtly. I would have loved that. So if you want a straight answer whether I liked it or not, I liked it. Overall, the message and the theme are quite amazing. The world building and the epic nature of the saga itself all was for his time groundbreaking, and even now it is quite captivating. And I can definitely understand why people reread this book multiple times. I was doing immersion reading for this book. Oh my god, the production of the audiobook, it was so wonderful. I loved all the voice actors. I loved the fact that they included some nice BGMs at very critical junctures in the story. Beautiful audiobook, guys. I would suggest you, if you are used to audiobooks, then opt for audiobook of Dune. And of course, go ahead and do buy the beautiful, physical copy as well if you're a collector. But the audiobook is remarkably well done. So that was my, oh, my notepad flew away. So that was my review of the epic science fiction saga called Dune. Do let me know your opinion of the book and also your feedback on this review. Obviously, I would be glad to have discussions with you. I'm sure I might have missed many things because this is just my first read. I will be happy to discuss with you in the comment section your opinion and feedbacks. Also, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel, guys. I will be back with wonderful, amazing bookish content very soon. Until then, this is Angela signing off. Bye bye.